ASU has more money. Why can't ASU get something better than why can't the basketball arena be better than it is? It's one of the worst places in the entire conference, Totri. Come on.
Yeah. No, I agree. Why? The question is, why can't they? It's not why can't they, it's why haven't they? It's again, it goes back to Michael Crow. Again, that falls back to Michael Crow. Michael Crow and the way that the university is running things as it stands right now, there is not an emphasis on athletics. There hasn't been an emphasis on athletics as far as I can remember. And I think that's why getting back to the whole Big 12 thing, right? That's why Arizona State was maybe lollygagging behind some of those other schools, not just teams moving to the Big 12, but teams moving to the Big 10, etc. We know as a fan base that the arena needs a change. That if you want to go into the Big 12, you are going to need to figure it out. Otherwise, you're going to go in there with a laughing stock of a program and you're going to play in a laughing stock arena and you're going to get killed night in, night out against teams like Kansas, Arizona, Colorado, Utah, Kansas State, Baylor. Like the list goes on and on. You need a new arena. Fans know you need a new arena. I think it is going to be, at this point, to the discretion of the new athletic director, or maybe that is my optimism, thinking that the new athletic director, when that hire is made, will have at least a little bit more leeway in terms of making some actual decisions. So I think at this point, ASU fans are hopeful that whoever the next athletic director is, there is some sort of emphasis, at least in the introductory press conference, some sort of hope and glimmer that Arizona State is going to get a new arena, because DFA is not it, man. It hasn't been it for some time now.
All right, let me ask you this. ASU, I've always been curious about this. ASU's they're in a much bigger city, more local talent, obviously. Why is Arizona basketball and Arizona football headed in a different direction than ASU?
I would argue, as it stands right now, that Arizona football and Arizona State football are probably closer than a lot of people think. And at least that's my perspective. I know the last season is what it is. Jed Fish obviously being gone. I don't hate the Brent Brennan hire.
You called him a booty call. I saw that.
I'm not as high on Brent Brennan. I think they're maybe trying to rip off the whole Kenny Dillingham shtick over in Tucson. Maybe you get KD 2.0, trying to get a guy that loves the program, etc. I just don't think a guy in Brent Brennan, who's been pretty much average his entire career at San Jose State, is going to bring Arizona fans to where they want to be. Again, that's just my 2 cents on the whole thing. I think Kenny Dillingham is going to have this program, Arizona State, better than Arizona sooner rather than later. In terms of basketball,
you would admit there's a great talent disparity right now between Arizona football.
As it stands right now, I think Arizona is a more talented team. I think the programs are on the same page, to be completely honest with you. And I think it's something that I've said on the Sun Devil show a lot lately is obviously Arizona fans are excited and love the fact that Fafita and T-Mac are back, right? Mm-hmm. But I think that puts an enormous amount of pressure on Brent Brennan and that coaching staff to succeed immediately. Whereas Kenny Dillingham, when he first got to Tempe, there was no really expectation that you were going to have immediate success. Like, you were on the floor. Then you have the self-imposed bowl ban. You're still playing with Herm's guys, right? You're a little bit late to get into the recruiting ball. Like a 3-9 season, and then to go get some of the recruits that they were able to get, not only in the class of 2024, but in the transfer portal. I think the football programs are realistically a lot closer than maybe Arizona fans want to acknowledge, and that's totally fine. I get it. There's no reason for Wildcat fans to acknowledge that the Sun Devils are building something in Tempe. I know you're not a giant hater when it comes to Kenny Dillingham. It's tough to root against that guy.
Really good dude. I think he's a really good guy.
He's a builder, man. He's a builder. You know, when you're playing Madden and you go to the franchise mode and you create a coach and you can have a builder, a player's coach, whatever. KD's a builder, man. Like, going out there and just covering some of his practices and the games and the way that he functions and talking to a lot of these kids, man, like, he is a coach that you want to play for if you're a kid. And I think if you are a parent, you want your kid to go play for a dude in Kenny Dillingham who A, is relatable, and B, is going to tell you the truth. Like, some of the conversations that I have heard they're wild. they're wild conversations that Kenny Dillingham has had with some of these players, but he's kept it 100% real with them the entire time. And I think that is so rare to find in college sports. And then as it relates to basketball, man, like, look, must bust. That's all I'm going to say.
All right. So you would admit, though, that Arizona and Arizona State basketball are certainly headed in drastically different directions as we go into the Big 12. You will admit that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Arizona State is headed to NIT at best. Arizona is headed to a first-round exit, just like they are every year, right?
Now, does it worry you about being bottom feeders in the Big 12, Anthony Totri? Because it should. You look at that
when it comes to basketball?
Yes.
No, because we've been bottom feeders here, too. We've been bottom feeders in the Pac-12, too. So the only thing, look, I think when it comes to this conversation, it is more so, hey, we're at the bottom. The only place you can go is up, right? At least that's the way that I'm looking at it. Like Bobby Hurley, if he goes into the next season as the head coach for Arizona State, then it is what it is. But I don't think there's a lot of Arizona State fans that are fully invested in this program enough from a basketball perspective to care what happens until there is success, right? Everybody wants to make the jokes that DFA is not packed. Everybody wants to make the jokes that Mountain America Stadium is not packed. Well, guess what? You win, they'll show up. Mullet Arena is packed every single night. That hockey program wins night in, night out. And you could say what you want about it not being a revenue sport or whatever. But if you win, we've seen it across the valley. The fans will show up. So when it comes to Arizona State basketball, at this point, once you get yourself a winner, they'll be there.
So you're saying they're front runners up in the valley, that they'll support you, but you need to win first, is what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. Look at the Cardinals, look at the Coyotes, look at the Suns. Like this Suns team, specifically, 5 years ago, was one of the worst teams in the entire NBA. And then a couple years later, they're in the NBA Finals. You got the Rally the Valley call, and my goodness, you would have sworn that Phoenix was a basketball town from its inception. But in reality, nobody was going to those Suns games when they were winning, 19 games?
You mentioned ASU basketball. The only way to go is up. You could say that about ASU football as well, though, Anthony Totri, based off last year.
You could, but I think, again, as somebody who watched every single play from that season last year and knowing the situation that the roster had to deal with in terms of injuries, in terms of the bowl ban that happened, 3 days before the very first game of the season, like that team was dealt a completely awful hand. And that's to no fault of the kids on the team. That's to no fault of Kenny Dillingham. That's to no fault of the fans. And that's to the fault of Herm Edwards and Ray Anderson and Michael Crow.